So hi, welcome to this episode of History Hunters. I'm here in Sheffield, Alabama, outside the Muscle Shoals Recording Studio, where some really big names recorded music starting in the 1970s. Cher recorded her first album here. Lynyrd Skynyrd recorded their Muscle Shoals album here. It took them 2 years. I think it was between 1972 and 1973. Rod Stewart recorded here. Willie Nelson. It's just this tiny little building over here, and we're going to take a tour of it. Tell you all about it on this episode of History Hunters. .3614 Jackson Highway. If that rings a bell to you Cher fans, know that that's her first album. And we have a picture of her. She's on the album cover. This is the album cover, basically, and Cher and Sonny were out here posting in front of this building. Just think about Ronnie Van Zant and Lynyrd Skynyrd entering through these doors and recording all of their famous music. If these walls could talk, huh? I mean, this hasn't changed since it was built. The Muscle Shoals Sound Studio was formed in 1969 by 4 session musicians known as the Swampers, formerly known as the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section. The 4 were Barry Pickett, Roger Hawkins, Jimmy Johnson, and David Hood, all session musicians at Rick Hall's Fame Studios. The Swampers left Fame Studios to create their own recording studio, buying this 1940s building, which was originally the Gibson Shade Shop. Because of their playing abilities and initial success in soul and rhythm and blues, they attracted more mainstream rock and pop performers who began coming to record at the fledgling Muscle Shoals Sound Studios. They included the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Duane Allman, Bob Seger, Elton John, Paul Simon, Boz Scaggs, Rod Stewart, Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, Cat Stevens, Joe Cocker, Willie Nelson, Dr. Hook, George Michael, and Julian Lennon. Because Lynyrd Skynyrd recorded 17 songs for their first album here, the Swampers were immortalized in the colossal hit song Sweet Home Alabama. The lyrics read, "Now Muscle Shoals has got the Swampers. Now Muscle Shoals has got the Swampers. They've been known to pick a song or two. Yes, they do. They've been known to pick a song or two. Yes, they do. Lord, they get me off so much. They pick me up when I'm feeling blue. Now how about you? They pick me up when I'm feeling blue. Now how about you? This studio closed in April 1979 to relocate to a larger and updated facility at 1000 Alabama Avenue in nearby Sheffield. This building was then used as an audio-visual retailer and then an appliance store until 1999, when it was bought and restored to how it looked when big artists like Linda Ronstadt came here in 1971. The building is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's estimated that over 62,000 people have visited here since it opened for tours again in 2013. A host of music giants and wannabe giants have posed in front of this iconic structure. Of course, I already told you about the time in 1969 when Cher was here with husband Sonny, who incidentally didn't sing on the 3614 Jackson Highway album. If you don't recognize the man on the right as Willie Nelson, it's because he was a lot younger and he weighed a little bit more than he has in recent years. The man with him on the left is Jerry Wexler, who was the vice president of Atlantic Records. In 1974, Kris Kristofferson and Donnie Fritz were here recording Prone to Lean. This building hasn't changed in decades, as evidenced by the September 3, 1969 photo of Scottish singer Lulu with music producer Jerry Wexler. Her album, New Routes, was one of the earliest recordings here at Muscle Shoals, with Duane Allman, Eddie Hinton, and the Swampers playing for her. In the 1970s, the studio had its own softball team, and if you study this team photo, you'll see Ronnie Van Zant and other members of Lynyrd Skynyrd, including Gary Russington and Alan Collins. That's Ronnie in the front. He was killed in an October 20th, 1977 plane crash along with band member Steve Gaines. We're not quite sure what this is, but it's an Airstream. The Airstream is a more recent addition to the property and mostly available as a place of refuge for those who still record here. In fact, among the most recent singers who recorded here was singer-songwriter Lana Del Rey. This is crazy, but this is our spa guy here, a famous YouTuber. He beat me to it. Right? Oh, I don't know. Visitors are greeted in the lobby by a number of gold-plated albums and photos, like this one of Mick Jagger recording inside the studio. The Rolling Stones were here just 3 days, December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 1969, to record Brown Sugar, Wild Horses,
Wild horses couldn't drag me away,
and You Gotta Move. While they were here, they stayed at the Holiday Inn in Florence, where this photo was taken. The motel has since been razed and replaced by Hampton Inn and Suites, but a plaque in town recalls the studio's contribution to the Sticky Fingers album, which wasn't released until 1971. This is a copy of the Swampers bill for services provided for the recording of Wild Horses. The total charge was $1,009. Ironically, just 3 months before our visit, a veteran from my own hometown of Modesto, California visited the studio. 99-year-old World War II veteran James Champion, who was at Pearl Harbor after the attack, told the staff that he and his brother had started their own band in 1935. Also in the lobby were gold-plated LPs for Bob Seger's Night Move and Stranger in Town albums, presented to David Hood, one of the Swampers. Also on display is Dr. Hook's Pleasure and Pain LP to Hood and Glenn Frey's All-Nighter album. Our tour actually began in the back of the building and a walk into the basement room that was a hangout for all the musicians. The walls of the room were lined with major album covers from the artists who recorded in this building. Chase Brandon was our guide and shared what he knew about the studio and allowed us inside the lounge with a bar where the musicians would drink and unwind. Original When we finally got to go upstairs, it was kind of surreal to see the sound engineer's booth filled with equipment that brought us the popular recordings that we've all heard broadcast on radio stations across the land. And then the thoughts that flooded my mind when we entered the room where the singers and musicians performed. This studio was actually used here back in the 1970s. It's a 1-inch 8-track master tape machine. The first albums recorded here in 1969 under the Atlantic Records label were mostly disappointments. That April, Cher was the first major artist to record here with her 3614 Jackson Highway album. The album was mostly cover songs and a flop for the studio. Boz Scaggs recorded his album here, which was also a flop in terms of record sales.
I'm 1,000 miles away from home, just waiting for a train.
As a side note, working with Boz Scaggs in this room was guitarist Duane Allman, who co-founded the Allman Brothers Band in 1969. Duane was killed in a 1971 motorcycle crash at the age of 24. With albums here that didn't excite anyone, the studio needed successes, and on August 19, 1969, magic happened here. R.B. Greaves, the nephew of Sam Cooke, came to the studio to record this big hit.
Take a letter, Maria, address it to my wife, send a copy to my lawyer.
This is the exact spot where David Hood of the Swampers played bass for big artists for 9 years. It is near to the back door, and Hood reported that while he was playing bass for Linda Ronstadt in 1971, two guys hung out on the back porch peeking through the back door, with their presence annoying him. The two were none other than Glenn Frey and Don Henley, members of her band before they started the Eagles. Just hours before our visit, we missed current Rolling Stones drummer Steve Jordan, who sat at the soundboard with David Hood and played at these drums. In this same cubicle, Roger Hawkins played drums for the Staples, who recorded I'll Take You There.
I'll take you there.
I confess to my sheer amazement to think of all the hits recorded in this room, many of which I have listened to over and over. Bob Seger recorded Night Moves and Main Street here in 1976.
Down on Main Street.
And Old Time Rock and Roll in 1978. Other hits were Kodachrome and Loves Me Like a Rock by Paul Simon.
She get down on her knees and hug me, but she loves me like a rock.
Wilson Pickett singing Don't Knock My Love.
You don't like it, don't knock it.
This piano held some awe for me. It was on these very keys that Leon Russell played for his hit song Tightrope.
I'm up on a tight wire.
Bob Seger also played this piano for Old Time Rock and Roll.
Just take those old records off the shelf.
And most haunting was that this piano was used for a demo recording of Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd. In this corner room, Linda Ronstadt recorded She's a Very Lovely Woman.
She's a very lovely woman, but I think you better turn her down this time.
Now, if you look at the photo in the background, you could see that nothing has changed in the passage of over 50 years. The same wall bears some signatures of the artists, including members of 3 Degrees who recorded When Will I See You Again.
When will I see you again?
Luther Ingram also recorded here, and he left his signature on the wall as well. Oddly enough, this bathroom is where Duane Allman liked to play the guitar behind his amp. Apparently, he liked the acoustics in the room, as did Bob Seger, who played the acoustic guitar near the toilet. Reportedly, Cher sang in this bathroom, and Keith Richards wrote Wild Horses for hours here. It's unknown if he was sitting on the john at the time. This is not the original control board used in the studio, but it is something that they would have liked to have had at the time. The 1969 16-track RCA console was later purchased by Chet Atkins in Nashville for his use, and even bears the ring where he regularly placed his glass Coke bottles.
It's very cool. I'm an engineer here too. I record people here a lot.
Is this difficult to learn?
Yeah.
looks like flying an airplane.
Well, it ain't quite like that. But yeah, man, we still do it. It's great. Studio. It sounds very vintage. Very awesome.
And the carpet is like the what was, because the carpet's gone, right? So you put a new carpet down.
Yeah, it all had to be redone. Yeah.
Wow. So what's with the couch here?
I never knew why it really dipped down like that, but the couch, they just had a couch there for like, the manager, or like, when the Stones were here, the manager was here, he wasn't doing anything, so we just sat on the couch. People like that,
I'm seeing some cabinets in the background here. That doesn't quite match up. Right here?
Oh, no, they hadn't put them there yet.
Oh.
But if you look at that Skynyrd photo,
Just about anybody who recorded here sat on this Malgai chair. That's so cool. This one too. There's the cabinets that we saw. Some sitting on the couch that all the recording artists sat on when they were here. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty rough piece of furniture too. So this is the back porch that all of the artists entered through. We have a picture of Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones right here. Of course, they looked a little different back in the 70s when they were here. While the building remains with memories of a robust recording studio, 3 of the 4 members of the Swampers have passed away. In 2009, keyboardist Barry Beckett died of a stroke at the age of 66. In 2019, death claimed 76-year-old guitarist Jimmy Johnson. And in 2021, 75-year-old drummer Roger Hawkins left this earth. Only David Hood remains and still makes regular visits to the studio. After our tour, we drove to nearby Florence, Alabama, traveling across the bridge spanning the Tennessee River. We headed to an old-fashioned ice cream parlor that many recording artists have visited while in town.
As a bonus, we're going to check out Trowbridge's. Since 1918, it's an ice cream parlor here in Florence, Alabama. Throwback to a different era. So what'd you think of the tour? What'd you think of the tour?
The tour of the music place? It's pretty cool. I think the tour was very good.
Did you recognize any of the songs they played?
Well, of course.
Okay, like Freebird?
Yes.
And you were totally bummed out, huh?
It was interesting, but it was too long.
Because of
Because people kept asking questions.
people like me asking questions. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this tour. I also found out the fact that that sign was not originally here. That sign was put in. That sign was put in to match the album cover, Cher's album cover. So it wasn't here when Cher was here originally. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you've enjoyed what you saw, please let us know what struck you about this place. Thank you so much.